Thank you so much for taking your time after lunch. I hope you had your lunch. Yes? Okay. I will take about 1 hour to go through my presentations. Today's topic is about publishing your research and innovation with IEEE. Obviously, we'll be talking about the journals and conferences. So here comes my translator. As always, before we start our session, I would like to invite everyone to take out your mobile phone. I hope you have your phones with you. And I would like to invite you to participate in a survey. So allow me to share it now. Okay. So you should be able to see the QR code. Please use your phone to scan the QR code. Take out your phone, scan the QR code. You'll be seeing the same screen. Now, if the QR code doesn't work for you, you can also visit the website, www.menti.com. You'll be asked for a number, right? Please key in the code. The code is on the top of the screen. Are you able to follow? I see some confusing faces, like what we are doing now. So this is a set of questions. It's anonymous. I'm not asking for any private information. You should be able to see the same question on your mobile phone. It's the same QR code. You don't need to scan again. So what is your role at our university? We have a lot of master students, PhD, librarians, management, and we do have undergraduates as well. All right, we have about 20 of us. All good? Okay. The next one is, what's your research area or research interest? Psychology, machine learning, law, politics and education, cybersecurity, deep learning, NLP, library science, HR, image processing, virtual reality, geophysics, nuclear engineering, bioethics, architecture, large language model, financial sustainability, vehicular networks, electronic justice systems, computer vision, CVPR, NLP, economics, deep learning. Very good. The next one, have you used any database or search engines or platforms for your studies or research? What is your experience? Any search engines? Scopus, SciSpace, ResearchGate, Library Catalog, Google Scholar is the dominant one. Archive as well. Next one. How about IEEE Xplore Digital Library? Have you used it? Have you heard of it? I'm looking for honest answers. So even if you give me, I use it for 5 years, there is no rewards. So just tell me your experience. If you have not heard of it, please let me know so that in the live demo, I will share with you what it is, how to use it, what's inside. Today's topic is about publishing with IEEE. If I can use a very simple analogy, I want to study at a university. Let's say I want to study at MIT. I only know it's a good university, but I don't know what course does MIT teach. I don't know what's the entry requirement for the university. I don't even know my exam score, but I want to apply for MIT. Do you think I will be successful? Anyone says, yes, Alex can get into MIT. He doesn't know what MIT teaches. He doesn't know what's the level of requirement for the students to apply. He doesn't even know his own exam score. Alex can get into MIT. Anyone says yes? Nobody supports me, right? How many says no? Alex, not likely he's going to get into. No. Okay. How many of you are lost? I don't know what Alex is talking about. Anyone? You are very shy. Okay. The analogy I was trying to use is, in order for us to get into a university, at least I need to know whether that university has the course that I'm interested in, isn't it? I'm not going to study law from an engineering university because the university doesn't even cover the subject of law. That's number one. Number two, I need to know what is the level of the university and what is the level of myself. So if my exam score is 70 and the university's entry requirement is, if you want to study at our university, your minimum has to be 95, which is somewhere here. So I don't want to waste my time because there's a big gap for me to go to the universities, isn't it? So it requires understanding of ourselves, our self-assessment. It also requires our study and analysis of the targeted universities. A lot of us are master and PhD students. I'm sure that's how you get into our universities. You must have done some studies, right? Your exam score, whether UGM exam entry requirement, obviously is very high. The same here. If you want to publish with IEEE, number one, you need to know whether IEEE covers your research subjects. We cannot submit the paper to IEEE simply because the ranking of the journal is high. What if it doesn't even cover my subjects? Right? There's no point. Number two, we need to know our level of research. We also need to know what kind of paper has been published by IEEE journals or transactions. Are they top qualities? Are they mid-range? Are they low class? How do we do it? We need to read the publications that are already published by the journals and conferences. All of those papers that are published by the journals and conferences are listed in IEEE Xplore. So I will highly recommend for our friends, especially if you have not heard of IEEE or if you have not started using IEEE Xplore, please go back and use this platform, because if you want to know whether you can be successful in publishing with IEEE, step number one is we need to know what IEEE is, what kind of paper is published. We cannot simply because IEEE is famous, I want to publish with IEEE. Right? That's the simple analogy I was trying to elaborate. But not to worry, later in the live demonstration, I will show you the platform, I will show you the subject coverage, what's available, and I also explain to you how do we access our level of research in comparison with those papers that are already published, so that we know whether the level is higher, lower, or about the level of my research so that we can submit. The next one is, have you published any paper before? This is about any publishers, any venue, locally, nationally, regionally, or internationally. Anywhere, the journal or conferences. Some of us, I think these are our faculties. You have published both journals and conferences. Well, I think I see about half of us, slightly less than half, already published something. This is very good. That makes my job much easier, which means you already know the difference between a journal and conference, right? Otherwise, you are submitting to the conference. Why are you not submitting to a journals? There must be a reason behind. The next one is, have you published with IEEE before? Any journals, or have you participated in any of the conferences? Okay, some of us have participated in conferences. The next one is, how are you familiar with open access? You should be looking at your phone, not the screen. Look at your phone first. Show me the answers. Then the answers will be here. All right? So it's about half. We heard of it, but not quite familiar how it works. Some of us, we already know how it works. Cool. The next question, I will leave it as an open-ended question. What are the things you would like to know or learn from today's session? Please be specific. You still have the question on your phone. Please give me the answers, but do not give me answers. Say, I want to know how to publish with IEEE. That's like, I want to know how to become a millionaire. Anyone has an answer? There's no standard answer, right? So please be specific. Which part of publishing process? Paper, manuscript preparation, selection of journals, submission process, peer review, what to do after your paper is accepted. And if you're interested in open access, which part of open access? The actual cost, what journals are available, how do I select open access journals? Please be specific. I will still leave the questions open, and with that, I will start my presentation. For today's sharing, there will be two components. The first part is going through the PowerPoint slides. But not to worry, I'm not going to read the slides for you. You can get a copy of the slides after the session, so you don't have to worry about missing any of them. I'm not going to read through everything because some of us already have experience of publishing. These are the skeletons of the key components. I will introduce IEEE, the subject coverage, as well as IEEE Xplore, the platform. What kind of choices do you have in terms of authors? You can prepare for journal paper, you can prepare for conference paper. What's the difference? And if you want to publish in open access, what is IEEE's support for open access? What types of journals are available? I will briefly go through the manuscript preparation and the submission peer review through a live demo. And of course, I'll also share with you on some resources for authors. The history of IEEE is not a publisher. It's not. Some of you might be thinking, I want to publish with IEEE, and now you are telling me IEEE is not a publisher. What are we doing here? What I was trying to say is IEEE is not just a publisher. Publishing is a very small part of what IEEE does. 140 years ago, Thomas Edison, the actual real Thomas Edison himself, and Alexander Graham Bell, the guy who invented telephone, they formed something like an interest group. You know, in universities, you have your student clubs. You like to play soccer, there's a soccer club, there's a guitar club. The same here, this batch of people, they are engineers, they are innovators. So they form like a club, interest group. They meet regularly to discuss about what you are doing, what's the latest research, what's happening in the East Coast of United States, in Europe, in Italy, in UK. And this is what we call the American Institute of Electrical Engineers. Although it says institute, but it's not a school like a university, no. It's more like a interest club, right? So they meet, let's say for Saturday afternoon, they have a cup of tea. Sometimes they organize seminars like this. Some people will discuss about the latest research. So gradually they realize that they have a lot of things to share. It cannot be just about talking over a coffee table or in a room. So they decided they need some sort of record to report and disseminate the latest innovations and research. That's how they started this thing called letters. I think for our young generation, you no longer write the physical letters, right? You just write emails. But many, many years ago, they still write letters. Of course, these letters are not those kind of letters which is I write for my friend or I write for my girlfriend. No, it's more like an open letter. So I have a latest research. I will write like a 2-page, 3-page article. And my colleagues, let's say Thomas Edison write one, Alexander Graham Bell write one, 5 of us write 5 letters. We consolidate, we publish as IEEE letters. So you notice until nowadays, some of the IEEE publications, they carry the word letters. Internet of Things letters. So that's how it was originated. The whole idea is to disseminate the information. Why that important is that's how the whole idea of publishing comes. Initially, it's meant for people to disseminate and share information. But of course, as the organization grows, letters is not enough. They need to start an actual journal, which is to report a full research process. It's no longer 2 pages or 3 pages. You need to write 8 pages, 10 pages to report from your research problem to your solution, to your results, to the discussion, the whole research process. That's how the transactions and journals are being formatted. Being brought up and made available until now. So later when you are going through the IEEE publication list, you realize some of the journals call IEEE Internet of Things letters. Some of them call IEEE transactions on big data. Some of them call IEEE journals on vehicular technologies. So what's the difference? Well, technically to you as an author, there's no difference. The only difference is what you are writing. Are you writing a full research paper, or are you just writing a condensed summary of what you have done? As a new author, you are supposed to write a full research paper, from the research problem to your research hypotheses, research proposals, results, as well as discussions, the whole landscape. That's what you should report. You should not write for letters, a 2-page, 3-page document. In the later career of your research, if you become an established researcher or professors, then in that case you have much more flexibilities. You know how to write for scientific communications. You are familiar with different type of publications. Then you are free to write letters. You are free to write for review papers. You are free to write survey papers. But in the beginning, we don't recommend you to start writing those. You should start writing for original research. In 1912, another batch of people, they formed the Institute of Radio Engineers. It's another body, and in 1963, they found the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEEE. There's always a saying, we should not judge the book by the cover. A lot of people, once they see, oh, electrical and electronics, I'm doing physical education, I'm doing machine learning, I'm doing psychology, so goodbye, there's no use for me. That's what we call judging the book by the cover. You just know the name, you think you know about what IEEE does. That is very wrong. IEEE covers the whole spectrum of STEAM education and research. Last time it's called STEM, now it's called STEAM. S-T-E-A-M, science, technology, engineering. A is artistic. And M, people say, is medicine, mathematics, or management. Fortunately, IEEE covers pretty much everything about it. So as long as you have something to do with technology, even if, let's say, you are dealing with psychologists, I'm sure you use a lot of tools, a lot of platforms, a lot of sort of equipment for you to analyze the emotions, to detect the patient's emotions or feelings through the tense of the way he speaks, the way his body moves, right? The body language or micro expressions. Nowadays, we use all sorts of image processing softwares to detect the facial expressions. So in those sense, if your research is related to those, actually your research is relevant or related to technologies. So in that case, I will recommend you to check out IEEE, because we do have publications related to the application of technologies in psychologies. IEEE publish journals and conferences, but we also have technical societies which cover all these subjects. We cover all the STEM subjects and research. Electrical, electronics, computer science, that's the traditional subjects. We also have more emerging subjects, robotics, AI, computational intelligence, and all these. The type of resources are we have 5 major categories of resources, but I will recommend for researchers, you should focus on the first 2, journals as well as conferences. I don't think you will start by writing a book, right? As a beginning researcher, not many of us will start by writing a book. It's normally solve a research problem, write a research paper to report the findings. Then of course the quality really matters. IEEE journals quality is well respected. I mean, that's also a reason why some of us are here. I know IEEE is famous, it's important, I want to publish. But I would share with you that this is actually a double-edged sword. On the positive side, if your research paper is accepted and published by IEEE top-ranking journals, which I'm sure everybody wants to, that means your research quality is very good, it's very high. Your level or your quality as a researcher is well recognized. But on the other hand, you have to be prepared. It's like, I want to apply for MIT. I know MIT is good university. I know if I have a doctorate degree in MIT, it shows that, I'm important. But we need to know ourselves, am I capable, am I qualified for the application? You have to be prepared for that. We are not discouraging for beginning researchers to submit to top-ranking journals. In fact, we welcome, because we all know new innovators, new researchers, you have more fresh ideas. A lot of them are groundbreaking, important. But on the other side, please be prepared. Please be prepared for rigorous peer review period. Sometimes it's also a long review period, and be prepared for a high percentage of rejection. Because it's a good university, because it's a top-ranking journal. If you want to easily publish in a top-ranking journal, please let me know how. Because a journal can be easily published by any regular authors, I don't think the quality of the journal is actually top-ranking. That's a contradictory here, isn't it? Anybody can go to MIT and study. That's a contradictory here. So please be prepared. Again, what we mean by preparation is while you are doing your research, not until the time your paper is finished, then you ask about, how is the level of my paper? How is the quality of my paper? If you ask me, 80% of the quality of the paper is actually defined by the research topic or the research that you have done. The 20% is actually just on the structure of the language. So if I were you, I don't worry about the structure, I don't worry about the language, because I have tons of tools can help me to do it. Nowadays, the AI can, if your English is not good, AI tools can craft up your language. And a lot of you are smiling because, there's AI, it can solve a lot of problems. But if you are using AI to help you to design your research method, if you are helping AI to help you to find the research topic, then I'm sorry, why do we need you? What is your contribution here? AI is doing everything for you. He's helping you to find the research topic. He's helping you to design the research method. He's helping you to analyze the research data. Well, he's helping you to write the paper. What are you doing here? We don't need a PhD student to do all this. To be honest, nowadays, a primary school student does a much better job than us. Why? Because they are young, they are innovative, the brain has not been blocked by the education system. They are not rigorous. They are still fresh. They can still ask questions like why the sun is always wrong and the moon is always changing shapes. And for us as adults, we stop asking those questions because we thought we know, right? So AI is useful, yes, but you need to ask yourself, if AI is wrong, they can solve all the problem, what am I doing here? And your paper is submitted using, I can brush up a very fancy article with the help of all these AI tools, fantastic language. You think the publisher cannot use AI tools to detect? Of course they can. They will recognize which part of the paper is not written by human being, isn't it? They will recognize that this graph is not prepared by the human being, it's prepared by the system. They can even detect which system is being used. So as a researcher, we still need to come back to the origin of the whole idea of research. It is not about publishing, it's about the research. When it comes to publishing houses, publishing services, and societies like IEEE, we have very clear guidelines to help you, for example, formatting the paper. I will go through the paper structure, the introduction, methodologies. These are standards. I'm sure once you have read some paper, you will know how to write. Those papers, you still need to go back to assess the level of the research that you have done. And bear in mind, we are looking for original research, which means you are supposed to come up with a new research question. It's not, some people have answered those questions, has solved the research problem with this method, and I am trying to prove or disapprove this research method works or not. That is not original research. You are just replicating what he has done with a new set of data and proving or disproving that other people is accurate or wrong. That's not original. That's like a teacher is marking the exam results. What you need to do is you need to come up with a new research problem, with a new research solution, and report your progress. So that comes to the publishing choices. Generally, there are two types of publications. That's why earlier I was asking for your experience. Have you published journals or conferences? The big difference of these two is what it covers. So if you are deciding, or if you are still not clear whether I should write a journal paper or I should write for a conference paper, you can simply ask yourself one question, which is, do I have the final solutions? The final conclusion. If my answer is yes, I have the final conclusions, then the choice is yours. You can write for a journal, you can also write for a conference. It's flexible. If your answer is no, I'm still working on my research program, I don't have the final answer yet, then in that case, you can't write for a journal, because journal will require you to provide a final clear conclusion, but you can write for a conference. Conference is okay, because for conference, people are after one thing, which is new. New research direction, new research ideas, topics, problems, new research methods or approaches, new research progress, new research directions. If you have the new research results, it's good, but it's not mandate. Conferences are more for where we are going, where journal is about what we have achieved. That's the key difference. And if you have your final conclusion, as I was saying, you can write for a journal, you can also write for a conference, which is okay, because that also shows that you are reporting new stuff. IEEE has both options, journals and conferences, but the only thing is, if your aim is to publish in open access format, as an open access article, we recommend you to publish and submit to the journals, because most of the conferences are still publishing as a traditional method. Open access, since majority of you either know it or have heard of it, so I'm not going to go through all the details, but I will briefly mention a few key benefits. A greater visibility, rapid review, submission to publication time frame. IEEE offers 3 types of journals. The traditional one is what we call the traditional journal. What it means that as an author, you can publish for free. A lot of the time, people ask me the question like, how much does it cost to publish with IEEE? The decision is in your hand. You can make it 0 if you publish traditional. However, publishing in traditional paper has some drawbacks. Why? Because readers have to pay or subscribe to that journal in order for them to read your articles. Right now, you are students and researchers from our university, UGM. You don't have to pay because our library is paying. But imagine some students, let's say from Europe or from Africa, their university does not subscribe to IEEE journals. And if your paper is published with IEEE traditional journals, they found your paper, they realize that your paper is relevant, but they cannot read your paper because they have to pay. They may not have the money. That's the drawback of traditional paper. Some of us might be thinking, well, I don't care whether they read or not. My paper is published, right? It doesn't affect me. Well, it doesn't affect me, it doesn't affect you now, because your number of publications is still +1. Your paper is published. But if you ask your professors, they are no longer talking about how many papers you have published. You have published 5, I have published 10, he published 3, okay. It looks like the person who published 10 papers is a good researcher comparing to the person who published 3 papers. It looks like so, right? Because he produced a lot. But if you ask that question to a professor, especially those established professors from, let's say, NUS in Singapore, NUS, NTU, universities like Cambridge or Oxford, they don't care how much paper you publish. What they are after is you publish 3 papers, 10 papers, 100 papers. Out of these papers, how many citations are you getting? You are publishing 10 papers. After 10 years, you get 1 citation. All the 10 papers added together, 1 paper gets 1 citation, the rest gets 0. I published 3 papers. In 2 years, every paper is getting 20, 30, 50 citations. So who is a better researcher? Yes, you are producing a lot, but you're producing trash. Nobody reads it, nobody uses it, nobody cites it. I'm producing limited edition, quality outcome. If you publish in traditional journal, because the fact that your readers, they may not have the access to read your articles. They may not be able to read your article. How can they cite your paper? But if you publish in open access journals, the moment your paper is published, everybody around the whole world, as long as they do a general Google searching, they can find your paper. Once they can find your paper, because it's published in open access, it's open access for readers. Your readers can open the document, they can read your paper, and they find the paper is relevant, they will cite your paper. Now is your citation plus 1. If you ask me, as a beginning researcher, we are chasing publication plus 1. The longer you move forward, you stop chasing that because you know definitely you are publishing. It's just a matter of time. But what's more important is that plus 1, the citation. Reason is this citation is not controlled by you. It's not controlled by you. It's controlled by your readers. And why are they citing your citation? It's because your research is good, is impactful, and relevant, up to date. There must be some values for that person to cite your papers. So that's why we encourage, especially new researchers, to move from traditional publishing to open access publishing. With the number of published articles growing dramatically, I would say exponentially, across the whole world, every year we are talking about millions of papers being published. And behind the millions of papers, there will be a dozen or million researchers working on this. How can I make my paper being viewed, being recognized by other researchers? I need to make sure other people can find my paper and read my paper. That's what open access is about. So for hybrid open access, we provide this option. You can choose to publish your paper either as traditional or open access. And if you are publishing as a full open access journal, then all the paper will be published as full open access. It's only when you decide to publish your paper as open access, then as an author, you need to pay for the article processing charges. And again, for UGM, for our university, thanks to our library is actually supporting the fundings for open access publications. And our librarian actually has done a very nice website to record all the papers that are published under this program, which I will show you later. So as an author, your focus is just do the research. Once you have the research output, there will be support from the library, from the university, or even from your department in terms of publications. Most of the IEEE journals nowadays are hybrid. We also have full open access. There are some non-OA journals, but these journals are most likely are magazines, and most likely you don't submit to magazines for original research. Again, 2 categories. For more information, you can go to this website, open.ieee.org. It will list down every single IEEE journal, whether it supports open access, what's the impact factor, which quartile the journal falls into. So that helps you when you are selecting the journal for submissions. This is the whole process from submission to the paper publication process. The peer review will take up most of the time here. And after the peer review, once the paper is accepted, that's where you decide, do you want to publish in traditional, which means publish for free, or do you want to publish as an open access, which means you have to pay the article processing charges. The part where the article processing charge, APC, comes in is only after your paper is accepted. We do not ask you for payment at the time of submission. A lot of our students are worried, right? I don't have the funding, so how do I submit the paper? Don't worry, because at the time of submission, nobody's asking you for money at all. The only thing is, after your paper is accepted, then you have to decide whether you're publishing in full OA or hybrid. Then in that case, if you're publishing in open access, you have to pay. So For more information, you can refer to IEEE Open, which is open.ieee.org for this website. The next components, I'll quickly go through it. I'm not going to go through all the details because as long as you have used databases, just now I was having a survey asking you what database you have used, right? Google Scholar, Scopus, Web of Science, even Library Catalog, which means you have read some papers. If you have read a paper, you surely know how to write a paper. All you have to do is follow the same format. Always start with the title followed by abstracts and some index keywords, and then the introduction, methods, results, discussion, conclusion. At the end of the whole article is a reference list. The only difference is, of course, different journals will have certain formatting requirement, as what we can see here. IEEE's journals are usually 2 columns, but don't worry, because we provide the template document in Word or LaTeX document format for you to follow. All you have to do is follow the formats. Everything is properly defined. These details, what should be covered in the title and all these, I will leave it for you to read. But I will just highlight on one thing. The whole article, including the content of the article, the research itself is done by us as a researcher. You came up with a research topic, you design the research, let's say experiment protocols or simulations, your algorithms for simulations, etc. You analyze the data, you report the whole thing. The whole research is done by you, but when you are writing the paper, you should bear in mind that this paper is going to be different from your laboratory report. Your laboratory report or your lab record is more for yourself or for your friend, for your teammates who are working on the same team, or even for your supervisor. It's more for internal sharing. Your supervisor, your teammates knows what kind of experiments or what's the settings you have done. But when you are writing this paper for submission, you are writing for your future readers. They do not know your lab setting. They do not know why you choose this research topic. They do not know how you design the process. So you need to write the whole paper for the benefit of them. Always keep that in mind. You are not writing for yourself. You're writing for other people. So that's why things like the title is meant to answer the reader's question. It's meant for the readers to find the idea that whether this article is relevant to the readers or not. The same for the abstract. Obviously, we write the titles and abstracts after the whole paper is finished. Then list of keywords, introduction, pretty much you explain about the current research, how you define the your research hypothesis, what's the results you are getting, and what's the impact, and overview of the whole paper. Then after that is the research methodologies. This part is where your reviewers will be spending a lot of time looking into because they want to know how you solve the problem. This part is also a big reason why your papers are getting citations. Because people want to leverage on the way you solve the problem, they can learn from you to improve their own research methods or their own research proposals. So your explanation in this section is very critical. You should use proper language, concise, and if for example, your experiments goes through different stages, and at different stages, there are different criteria or parameters are being set. Please explain in detailed, concise, accurate manner what kind of parameters or values you have set or conditions you have set for each stage of the experiments. And this is important because it links to your discussion with the results. The discussion of the results later should be able to prove that your research method works. This is also the section where you use illustrations, visualizations, figures, charts, diagrams to explain your ideas. And of course, for the results portion, you should always summarize the data, try to tabulate the data. Don't just report raw number or 30, 50 numbers. You should put it in table, categorize them at least. If you can put them into a chart, exponential chart, a functional graph, that's even better. And furthermore, you should interpret what does the data mean. Does it mean an improvement of accuracy or efficiency? Does it mean a new innovative idea? Optimizing the so-called data collection analysis process? The whole purpose is to prove that your research method works and that solves the research problem, the hypothesis you have proposed in the beginning. And of course, the conclusion is a summary of the whole article. It talks about what you have achieved. It also talks about the benefits of your research and the shortcomings. Sometimes, as we all know, if you are doing quantitative research, we always run to some of the outliers. There are always a data, at least a couple of data, which is not fitting nicely into the graph. What causes the outliers? What's behind these outliers? Is it an observational error or experimental error? So if you can discuss the reasons behind those shortcomings or these outliers, you could be able to suggest what can be improved on the existing research. You can also suggest the implementation and application of your research in other domains. References are usually managed by reference management software. Please don't write it manually. And we recommend you to get an ORCID ID, Open Researcher and Contributor ID. The problem for ORCID ID, the purpose for ORCID ID is to help researchers with the same name. I say my name is Alex Liu. This is a very common name in Hong Kong, in Singapore, at least in these two places. I'm sure in UK, in US, there are tons of Alex Liu around. So how do I know who is the one? Our names can be the same, but our passport number definitely is different. This guy holds a passport from Singapore, the other guy is from US or UK. The numbers are totally different. ORCID ID does the same job. Your name can be the same, but your researcher ID will be different. This is to distinguish you from another researcher which has the same name. If you want to publish, submit your paper to IEEE, we require you to let us know to fill in your ORCID ID as well. So please register for this service. It's totally free. Once you get it, even if you are submitting to other publishers, this will be beneficial as well because they will require you to submit your ORCID ID as well. The next one is the submission process and the peer review. For the submission process, I will do it through a live demo, but let's discuss about the peer review process first. Because once your paper is submitted, the rest is out of your hand. It's in the hand of the editors and reviewers. So this is a very generic workflow for peer review process and is common among journals as well as conferences. After your paper is submitted, there is a pre-screening. The pre-screening is looking at two things. They are looking at whether your paper's research area is covered by this journal. So if let's say my research area is in linguistic, in language, right? But I submit to a journal which covers power and energy systems. Obviously, there's a mismatch in terms of topic. My paper will be rejected. There's also another pre-screening in terms of format. IEEE journals require the citation style has to be IEEE citation style. My paper is, the reference style is in Chicago style. There's a mismatch of citation style. But you see, the rejection due to format, you can still come back and you change the format according to the journal because the subject is okay, right? Subject coverage is okay. You can still submit. But if your rejection is because of topic, there's no point to resubmit. This pre-screening is very fast. It's not looking at the accuracy or the quality of research, no. They just look at the subject and the format, that's it. The actual peer review happens after the pre-screening where your paper will be sent to a few reviewers. What the reviewers will do is they will take the review. The reviewers, they are researchers most likely in the same subject, in the same research domain as you are. They will look at your paper, they will see the quality of the paper. Then they will give all the feedbacks, the comments back to the editors. Editors will make a decision, accept, reject, or revision. So for the revision part, there is a difference between a journal and a conference. Because conference definitely has a fixed date for the conference to happen. So most of the conferences, they do not allow more than 2 rounds of revision. They don't have the time. Most of them, they just allow 1 round of revision. Some of them, they may allow up to 2 rounds, but majority is just 1 round. Accept, reject, or if there's minor issues, you can revise it, then send it back to us. But after your first round of revision, it still doesn't meet the conference requirement, they may straight away just reject. They don't give you more time for the revision. Because they need to decide acceptance or rejection before the conference date. Time is a key factor. But for journals, it is possible that your paper may go to 2 rounds or even 3 rounds of revision. It is possible. So that's for the peer review process. If you look at what editors and reviewers are looking for, this is pretty much what I was trying to share with you since the beginning. Sometimes your paper will be rejected. So our paper will be rejected. And upon checking, there's nothing wrong with my paper. My research is accurate. There's nothing wrong. Why is my paper being rejected? Now, your research being accurate is a very bare minimum to be considered for proper peer review. Because if your research data is fraudulent, it's not accurate, there's no point for the paper to be peer reviewed at all. I would say more than 95% of the papers submitted, they are all accurate. But it doesn't mean those 95% of the papers will be accepted. The journals and reviewers are selecting papers that meet the requirement of the journals. Again, if I may use a simple analogy, top-ranking universities, they are selecting students that meet the requirement of the universities. They are selecting the best out of the best. I'm getting 95, he's getting 95, everybody gets 95. But 95 is a very bare minimum. There are lots of students who gets 100, and not every student who gets 100 get into the university. Because those students, they get all 100, they'll also be excellent students in terms of leadership, in terms of communication, in terms of professional development skill, networking skills, and all these. Right? So it's a combination. For journals, top-ranking journals. Top-ranking journals has to select papers that meets the requirement of the journals and the requirement of the readers of the journals. If you are a reader, you are reading a top-ranking journal, what are you looking for? You are looking for impactful research. You are looking for groundbreaking research. You are looking for something that can bring you new ideas into your future areas of research. You are not just looking for research that is correct. That's a very bare minimum requirement, isn't it? So that's why the top-ranking journals, they are highly competitive. They need to select research papers that is groundbreaking, important, impactful. So how do I know whether my paper meets the requirement or not? A very simple thing you need to do is read those journals. If your question is, should I submit my paper to this journal? You should also ask yourself a question, how much do I know about this journal? How many papers which is relevant to my research area has published in these journals? And how is the level of those papers that is already published in this journal that's relevant to my research area? And this is important because I don't care about other subject topic. I just want to know whether this journal published research paper related to my research area, right? Then I will read this journal, I will compare my research paper to those papers that's already published. And I will ask myself a question, how do I think of this paper or this group of researchers? Are they working on a more important, more emerging topic? Is my research topic more important, more groundbreaking, more impactful than those research topics that's published? How is my level of research, my level of writing comparing to what has been published? Back in the school days when we were primary school, secondary school, or even high school students, before we go for the exam, I'm sure there's in-class tests, right? Almost every month. There's also a midterm test or midterm exam. And before final exam, I'm sure we also practice past year exam papers. The teacher will give us these are the questions that are tested last year. We practice on it. We have a mock exam to see how much score do I get. So that before I enter the final exam, I have a rough idea how much do I know about my subject. The same for publishing. We do not wait until your research is completed, your paper is ready, then we ask, oh, how good is my research? How good is my paper? Which journal should I submit to? We don't do that. Along the way, while you are reading your first paper for literature review, you should already be asking the question, How is the level of this research? Am I able to conduct this kind of research? Am I able to write like what this author has written? A journal paper can easily be 8 pages or 10 pages. That's like your final term exam. You don't start with writing that paper. You start with writing a 2-page laboratory report to report your research progress in the past 1 month or 2 months. You start writing by writing a progress report to your supervisors, 4 pages. You explain to your professor, this is my research topic, this is the design of my experiment, this is the initial results, this is my analysis of the results. Along the way with this kind of practice, then by the time you are writing for the 8-page, 10-page paper, just like I have done all the in-class exam tests, I have done my midterm, I have done my mock exam. By the time you are entering your examination hall for your final year exam, you are no longer worried. This is just another exam. I have done it many times. You do not wait until the last 2 weeks. You are scratching your hair like, how do I write a 10-page article? You don't do that. Scope is very important. The rest of what the editors and reviewers are looking for should have been asked in the beginning of research. For example, is the study well designed and executed? As a reader, as a researcher, as an author, you should ask yourself, did I design my experiment well? Did I execute my experiment well? Did I record my data accurately, correctly? Did I provide clear analysis? And does my research, from the ethical perspective, from the research perspective, does it meet all the guidelines, policies, clearance, and all this? And last one, which is the most important, as I have repeated myself, originality is very important. We are looking for you to solve a new problem. We are not looking for you to test whether other people's method works. That's not original. That's a QA test. That's not a researcher should be doing, right? And of course, the reason why paper will be rejected is because of the same reason. There's no good fit. Not because your research is wrong, there's nothing wrong. It's just that, for example, my research is here, but the level of the journal is somewhere here. There's a huge gap. My research level simply is not impactful, is not important. But if there are problems with research itself, for example, your results is not inconclusive, it's not definitive, and you even, let's say I even fake the data. It's not the data I collected from an experiment. I just make up the numbers. That's very wrong. Some of the things like the language or the preparation for graphics, the charts, nowadays you can use tools, AI tools. We are okay for you to use AI tools to help you to format your language, improve your language, to help you to prepare for the visualizations. That's okay. But provided that when you are writing a paper, in the acknowledgement section, you need to define clearly what AI tools has been used for what sections, for what purposes. So for example, paragraph 1 to 21, pretty much, but the whole article has been reformatted or paraphrased with the assistance of AI tools for the language and grammatic purposes. The AI tool is not used for you to help you to generate the research ideas. The AI tools is not helping you to design the research method. The AI tools is not used to help you to analyze the data. That's important, because if you do all this, then we don't need you to submit the paper. There are tons of AI tools. We can just use the AI tools to solve the problem, right? So in terms of ethical publishing, we definitely require you to provide proper citations. You cannot copy and paste from other researchers' work. You should paraphrase and provide proper citations. That's why reference is very important. Please provide the actual reference where you get the information from. Another thing is, if you have one research paper, you should only submit to one journal or one conferences. You should not bring one paper, you submit to multiple conferences or journals. That's not allowed. Only one. So that's pretty much what I would like to share about the manuscript preparation as well as the peer review process. I would like to recommend everyone to bookmark this page, IEEE authorcenter.ieee.org. Because in here, you will be able to find all the information I shared with you, from manuscript preparation to downloading the article templates. If you are looking for which journal to submit your paper to, we also have a publication recommender. You key in the keywords, they will tell you these journals covers these subjects areas, right? So that's for this. I would like to show you through a very quick live demonstration on how you can use IEEE Xplore for your literature review, as well as for selecting journals or conferences to submit your papers. So this is IEEE Xplore homepage. As you can see, we can see our university name here. Access provided by UGM. This should be the starting point of your literature review, not at the stage where your paper is ready, you are looking for journal, then you come here. That's too late. That is really too late. You should already be using this platform in the beginning while you are trying to find publications, journal articles, conference articles for you to read for references. You should already start using this. So for example, let's say my research area is related to AI. And my research is related to the application of AI in, say, healthcare, right? So in this case, there's another keyword which is healthcare. But of course, instead of healthcare, I can just use health. And I will combine the two concepts. There's a first concept here. There's a second concept here. Of course, health, you can add additional keywords such as cardiology or heart, heart diseases, and some other aspects, physical rehabilitations and all this. But in this case, I will just use health as a beginning. You will realize that this research topic is too broad, that tens of thousands of publications, 23,000 publications. This is too much. But no problem, I can still further refine it. For example, I'm interested in the application of data in healthcare, more geared towards the data analytics or data science part. So I will just search by you adding additional keywords, say data, right? Add additional keywords. Data privacy, data security, data mining, anything that has to do with data. Click on search. That will help you to zoom in to less number of results. Now, there's still 16,000, which means data is still a big part where AI is being applied. You can further zoom in by, say, publication topics. These are the subtopics. Learning algorithm, random forest. Let's say I'm interested in medical imaging. This is very specific, medical imaging. Click on apply. Now I zoom in to 886 articles. Am I going to submit to a journal? Yes, I'm going to submit to a journal. There is already 224 journal articles published. Again, this is the time for you to read this article. You want to publish with IEEE journals? These are the journals. These are the papers who already passed the peer review, who is already accepted. You want to study with MIT? You talk to those students who are currently studying or who already graduated from MIT. You ask them, how is the experience? What courses MIT teach? How is the level of yourself at the time of application? My level is here. Do you think it's a good, I'm capable of applying for MIT. Isn't it? That's how you know yourself, know the university. That's the same here. You should know your research. You should know the journals. It's not simply by asking your supervisor, which journal do I submit to? You need to bring something into the tables. So in this case, there's 224 journal articles already published. And what journals are publishing them? Publishing title. These are the journals. IEEE Access, Journals of Biomedical and Health Informatics, Transactions on Medical Imaging, Transactions on Pattern Analysis, and Machine Intelligence. So these are top journals which publish the most number of publications related to your research subject. All you need to do now is study these journals. Or even if you are bringing this to your supervisors, at least you tell your professor, I have studied these 4, 5, 6, 10 journals, and I think that journal A, B, C, these 3 fits my research topic, my research domain, my research quality. You ask for his advice out of these 3, which one? You don't blindly ask him which journal or her, right? So at least you bring something to the tables. So what you need to do is, for example, this one, you select it, read the papers, and after you have done some readings, you roughly have some level understanding of where your research is and what these papers are. They are higher, about the same, lower compared to your research. And if you find that this journal is a good fit for the level of research, for the subject coverage, you want to submit to this journal, all you have to do is click on this journal's homepage. It's hyperlinked. It brings you to the journal homepage. Submitting to the journal is the easiest part because there's a direct link says submit manuscript. That's it. If again, I may use a simple analogy, submitting a paper is like writing an email. When it comes to writing emails, there are 2 important things. Of course, you need to know what content the email should be, right? There must be a purpose for you to write the email. But on the other side, the first and foremost you need to know is to whom you are sending the email to. The email you are sending to your parents, to your mom or dad, definitely is going to be different, different style, different content to the email you are sending to your friends or to your sisters or brothers, right? The same here. Submitting to a journal is a very simple analogy. There are 2 things you need to decide. Number 1, what is the content of your paper? And fortunately, this one is covered by your research. You have done the research, you have written the paper, and the next one is you need to know to which journal you are submitting to. And since you already decided this is a good fit of the journal, well, submit the manuscript, that's it. They'll ask you to create an account. You don't have an account, log in. And once you are in, the rest is a step-by-step procedure. Once you log into the system will give you a step-by-step guide. This is the submission. I don't have submission to these journals yet. You can start a submission. That's it. On the right-hand side, as you can see, is a step-by-step guide. What is the article type? Upload your manuscript. What's the title? What's the abstract? Author information, author details, matching organization, additional information, final review, submit. It's the same as writing an email, step-by-step. This is the easiest part. The most difficult part is the 2 things. 1, you should know what to write, which is the paper, the research. Number 2, to which journal or conference you're submitting to. And for this part, you need to study the journals, you need to study the articles that are published by those journals, then submit your paper to the appropriate journals. So this is for journals. The same goes for conferences. So if we select the conferences here, again, instead of selecting journals, I'm selecting conferences. There's about 600 plus papers published on this topic. And I can check out which conference these papers are published. This is 2023 conference. This is this year, 2024, the 14th conference. Sorry, the 15th. This is the 5th conference, 2023, 2024. Seems like this is a hot topic in the past 2 years, which is good because this is a new emerging topic. The only thing is, this conference already happened. They already held, they closed, they finished. There's no way I can submit to this conference. So why am I still showing you this? I'm showing you is because of this. Second, 5th, 15th. What does it mean? This conference has been happening more than once. If this conference is happening last year or this year, how about next year? It might be happening. Then I can attend the conference next year. Of course, we have much more conference than what's listed here. So in IEEE Xplore homepage, you scroll all the way to the bottom of it, featured authors, featured articles, upcoming conferences. We have more than 3. You click on see all upcoming. IEEE has already more than 1,000 conferences organized. So in here, you can search by keywords to find the conference that's relevant to your research area, or you can refine by conference date or conference location. Let's say you want to travel within our country. Indonesia usually has quite a number of conferences, as you can see, 11. So these conferences are happening as we speak. This is happening as of today. And this is happening tomorrow, starting tomorrow. This is happening during the weekend, I think, in Semarang, right, next door. This one is happening in our city. So if you're interested in any of these conferences, just click on it. And you can find what we call the conference information page. They will tell you what subjects it covers. There's always this conference website. Click on the conference website. It brings you to the actual conference website. I have to apologize for this. It's because my laptop has a very tight security setting. That's why sometimes they don't allow me to access this website. So, but some other conferences, actually, if you access from your computer, there shouldn't be any problem. Yeah. Again, my laptop has very secure settings. Let's try this one. I hope this one works. Yeah. Okay, this one works. So the conference website has all the information you need to know as an author. For example, author information is here, accepted papers, important date. This is very important. Check on them, because you have to make sure that your paper is submitted before the submission deadline, right? So for this particular paper, deadline for full paper submission is the 4th of August, 3 months ago. It's too late. Notification of acceptance, final paper submission, registration date. So make sure you check the dates. And of course, when it comes to paper preparation, there is submission process here. They will explain to you. Template, the article template is here. Pre-recording submission guidelines. What kind of paper? 6 to 8 pages. The font you are using, 10 point. The paper you are using, 8.5 times 11 inches. This is most likely a letter. And the article template is here. Preparation guideline, oral presentation, poster presentation, PDF. Why should you use PDF? Registration and all the information. So for conference, it's relatively easier because every conference website will have a dedicated page like this to tell you what you should do. And of course, all you need to do is prepare accordingly and submit here. Right? There's always an online submission system. Click on it again. If you don't have an account, register for an account, submit the paper. That's it. Okay, that's all I would like to share for today's sharing session. It's quite a long session. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope the information is useful. We'll pause here to see if there's any questions. Thank you. You can ask your questions in either English or Bahasa.
Or in Bahasa Indonesia, please feel free. We have Mas Deden, we have me, we have Roro, we have so many people who can help you in translating your questions. Yes, please. Mas siapa?
Saya Shafran.
In English, okay?
English, okay.
Okay,
The
sure.
question is, why the peer review process taking a long time to reach a decision?
Okay, good.
I think that's a very good question. It's
Yes.
asking about the peer review process.
Yeah, why taking a long time to reach a decision?
Okay, so it really depends on the journal. Now, we all know that IEEE, especially the transactions and the journals, the quality is there. So again, if I may use an analogy, it's like MIT. I not biased, I like MIT because they are technology focused. I'm just using MIT as illustration. A top ranking university like that, definitely a lot of students are applying, right? So the application is a lot. So the same goes for a lot of IEEE transactions. As you can imagine, for our top ranking transactions, we are talking about thousands of submissions on a weekly basis. So a lot of time, it's not simply because the peer review takes a long time. It's a lot of people are waiting in a queue to be joining the peer review. They're still waiting to be assigned with reviewers. There is no way there can be thousands of reviewers. Bear in mind, one paper we need at least 3 reviewers. So you can imagine the amount of work that is happening there. Top ranking journals is always the case. But of course, in the journal's perspective, in the editorial team, they are doing a lot of works to try to push for reviewers. For example, some of the journals, they are already requesting reviewers. You need to provide an initial response by the end of the 4th week, which means 1 month. Not the final decision, but at least some feedback by the end of the 4th week. But again, different journals varies. This doesn't apply to all the journals. As of now, some of the top ranking journals for IEEE transactions, you can see the peer review period, we're talking about months. It's very common. But again, the whole purpose is to select impactful research so that these papers, when they are published, they meet the demand of the top ranking journals and the readers of these journals. So that's actually also a reason why if you are master or PhD students, if your aim is to publish in one of the IEEE top ranking journals, my recommendation is you don't leave your submission to the last year. If let's say I'm planning to graduate in the year 2026, I should submit my paper by 2025 because I do not know how long it takes. I don't even know whether my paper will be rejected. What if my paper will be rejected? So giving yourself enough time buffer, I submit in 2025, top ranking journal, I know the peer review takes a long time, I'm already prepared for that. And I'm also prepared in case my paper is rejected, there is still time for me to submit to another journal so that my paper can be published. And for master students, because your research as well as your time for graduate studies as a master student is not as luxurious as a PhD students, the general recommendation is you should plan for conference publication in a staggered manner, because conference, you know when the conference is happening, isn't it? And you know that before the conference, you definitely will know your paper will be accepted or rejected. That helps you in terms of planning and your research as well as your publication timetables. Yeah. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Oke, thank you Mas. PhD apa Master's degree? Master's degree, oke. Tadi sudah diterangkan bahwa setiap jurnal macam-macam ininya syarat atau durasi. Tetapi memang months itu berbulan-bulan itu memang normalnya begitu. Jadi memang harus diantisipasi bahwa ketika memang akan menembak destinasi itu untuk yang memang high quality itu akan butuh waktu yang agak sedikit lama. Jadi tadi untuk master degree itu mungkin suggestionnya lebih ke conference karena conference sudah pasti tanggalnya, sudah itu bakal akan terbit. Nah, kenapa itu tadi dikatakan Alex kalau itu memang agak sedikit butuh waktu lama karena memang ternyata jurnal yang bagus itu peminatnya banyak sekali. Jadi kitanya itu kadang-kadang memang harus benar-benar pintar menempatkan paper kita di antara ribuan paper yang masuk. Bagaimana ini agar bisa langsung antrian, dan ini kan antrian itu setelah antri belum tentu langsung masuk ke reviewer. Kalau editor tidak setuju ya akan lepas, tidak sampai masuk ke proses review. Itu yang memang harus kita perhatikan. Project kita bagus, cara nulisnya tidak bagus, itu juga berpengaruh. Jadi sangat harus berhati-hati. Tapi it's good to know. Okay, next questions please.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Apriyadi. My question is about I have submitted the article in Willy Publisher in Society and Children and Society, because my topic is about children rights, but 4 weeks later directly rejected. The reason just because the scope of journal. So I tried to another journal, I submit, but I think I already read the scope journal. I think it's the same topic, and children and family social work, but 3 weeks later directly rejected. So the reason also same. I mean, the problem is about the scope of the journal. So I just confused why to journalists the reason same is about my article, my topic, or the quality of my article. Thank you.
Terima kasih. Master atau PhD Mas?
Yeah.
Master atau PhD? PhD, okay. Alex, please.
Of course, I cannot answer for other publishers. Generally, the general recommendation we give it to authors are, if let's say your paper is rejected, you would like to clarify the actual reason behind, you should actually follow up with the editors who send you that rejection email. They will normally advise you the reasons. For example, you are saying, I'm just taking your example for illustration purposes. Let's say the subject coverage or subject scope is not what the journal is looking for. Then, if I were you, I will ask myself the question is, how much do I know about the journal? Have I read like what I have done just now? You know, I do a search based on my research subject. How many papers has already published in this journal? I'll read those published papers. How relevant are those published papers to my research areas? If I find these actually very relevant and there are already papers that covers my research area published in this journal, then obviously the reason is not because of the subject coverage or scope. Right? So again, it still goes back to my illustration earlier. We need to understand ourselves in terms of level, in terms of subject, in terms of coverage. We also need to understand the journal we are submitting to. Yeah, I hope that answers a little bit for that. But again, I'm not in a position of addressing that question because it really depends on the publishers and journals themselves. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Remain a mystery katanya. Nggak tahu kok bisa begitu, kita sudah mengusahakan, kayaknya sudah pas betul skopnya paper kita, topik kita. Tapi memang tadi suggestionnya adalah dicek dulu di jurnal itu, apakah memang ada paper serupa. Walaupun skopnya itu rasanya pas, tapi cek dulu misalnya perilaku informasi, information behavior, apakah ada topik serupa atau judul serupa di jurnal itu. Karena bisa jadi skopnya ada tapi kayaknya tidak menerbitkan yang untuk perilaku informasi deh, bisa saja. Karena itu memang benar-benar ini ya, otoritas dari editornya nanti akan bagaimana gitu. Tapi memang setelah nanti lihat bahwa ternyata ada judul yang agak mirip atau pembahasan, nah itu juga bisa disitasi di dalam paper kita. Itu artinya bahwa kita aware banget, bahwa kita sadar kita sedang bekerja dengan jurnal tertentu dan kita ngerti dan kita mengakui, acknowledge bahwa ada pembahasan juga serupa di jurnal tersebut. Gitu. Itu salah satu mungkin arahannya ke situ ya. Oke. Banyak sekali kalau urusan-urusan gini akan dibahas. Okay, any other questions that we have today? Banyak misteri memang, tapi harus dicoba. Dan ini adalah memang ujian kesabaran, terutama teman-teman yang punya kewajiban harus ada publikasi sebelum lulus, ya. Gitu. Jadi kita mesti benar-benar mengatur waktunya tadi seperti Alex sampaikan untuk apakah sewajib apa. Jadi time frame-nya harus diperhatikan. Ada lagi? Yes, please, Mas.
Thank you very much. My name is Hafid. I'm a first year in doctoral degree in electrical engineering. My question is, I'm curious about IEEE student membership. Is there any beneficial for us if as a first year students, I'm just looking forward for my research focus, and I thought that some of beneficial is for the payment process, or some conferences that we have will get some discount. And is there any communities or some things that we can working in group for a specific research area? Since as a doctoral students, it's quite hard to find a similar students in the universities that have a similar research. I know that IEEE is the largest electrical or computers associations, and also, is there any option for students to join the community or some things like a small association that find our interest? Thank you. Hafid.
Okay, Mas Hafid. Okay, Alex, please.
I think this question was also brought up. Remember in the beginning, I was asking you what are the questions, what are the things you like to know. One of them, one of you obviously asked this question. So, I would like to bring everyone into this website. This is IEEE's homepage. As I was sharing with everyone since the beginning, IEEE is not about publishing. It's not just about publishing. Publishing is a very small part of what we do. What is IEEE doing is everything here. As you can see, publication is only the second last. The first one, the most important one, are our membership. Because none of these things, conferences, standards, e-learnings, none of these could be possible without our members. As a student, you can also join IEEE as a student member. And the benefit of this is, because you are studying in Indonesia, once you join as IEEE student member, naturally you will become a member of IEEE Indonesia section. Our Indonesia section, Jakarta, Bandung, we have a lot of faculties, a lot of universities, even in our universities, we have IEEE members. A lot of them are actually our professors. So the benefit for students is you are part of the global community, and IEEE Indonesia section, they organize a lot of events. You will receive notification. You can also participate in those events. As a student member, if you are participating in IEEE conferences, we all know for conferences, there is a registration fee. As a student member, you get heavy discount. The discount you are getting will easily cover your membership fee for 5 years or even 7 years. So the membership for students is very important, and not to mention the global network. So for example, you are talking about, as a PhD student, because your research area is very niche, very special, it's not likely you're going to find a big group of researchers working on the same research topic from your university. My recommendation is, if that's the case, use IEEE Xplore to find out publications of those papers that are published on your research topic. And the moment you open the PDF, you will be able to identify whether the person is an IEEE member or not. I'm not sure whether you have noticed it. In all the IEEE Xplore articles, the moment you open the full text PDF, if the person is an IEEE member, it will be listed as IEEE members. If let's say you are looking for collaborators in Indonesia, you can do a search, let's say use Indonesia as a keyword, then use your subject keywords. You find out all these are the existing, the new publications from IEEE. The moment you open the full text PDF, after every author's name, they will tell you whether this person is an IEEE member or not. Yeah. Once you know the person is actually, collaboration doesn't require two authors has to be members, right? You can collaborate anytime. But the good thing is, if you are in Indonesia, that particular researcher is also in Indonesia, both of you are IEEE members, you can send them emails, you can talk to him or her, or you can also talk to your supervisors. Your professors might be a IEEE member as well, and then you will be part of the big communities. It is not about physically to be in the same campus, forming a research group, no. Because nowadays collaborations is international. You can collaborate with a researcher in Japan, right? Everything is through internet, so there's no problem on that. I don't know why the internet is a little bit slow on this. Just these papers. I see I'm opening all the big documents. Maybe that's why. Let's see if this is. So that's the major benefit as a IEEE student member. Then coming back to some of the questions, sorry, I hope that answers your question. Yes? Do you have additional questions?
Yeah, thank you for your answers. My following question is, if there's a lot of information that we can find in the IEEE
Sorry, do you
websites.
Do you mind to read? There's some information.
There's a lot of information about my topics in IEEE Xplore, and if I've looking for my research topics by the keywords, there's a lot of researchers that have similar topics with me, but if I looking for the communities or groups, there's also a lot of information. So my question is how to find the appropriate researchers that that currently have this same topic with me, because when I'm approached with the specific authors from the papers, they don't have some satisfying response. Like they don't have the similar research or the following research about the topics. They have another topics or switch to another topics, and it's quite hard because there's not specific communities for my topics. My topic is about vehicular technology, but the more specific one is about the communications, and it's quite hard to find the appropriate the researcher.
I think your question is how to find it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You have a suggestion to open by each papers, and I have done it to approach by the articles. It's quite hard.
Yeah. So my question to you is, you keep mentioning it's hard, it's a lot. So for example, of course, I'm not doing any precise search. So my question to you is, how many papers have you read?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the full text PDF. I'm not talking about go through this list by reading the title, oh, this article is relevant, no. I'm talking about the actual PDF. You actually open it, you read it, you realize this is relevant, this is not. How many papers have you read?
Currently, I'm working on my proposals. And
yeah, no, it's okay. My
yes,
question is, how many papers
around 50,
have you read?
Around 50.
50.
Yeah.
And you have contacted all the authors from all
Not
these
all
50
of them.
papers?
Not all of them.
How many?
Not more than 10, but just the paper that really suitable for my research.
Yeah, how many?
Not more than 10.
Not more than 10.
Yes.
And because they are not giving you a positive feedback saying let's collaborate, they are not giving you positive feedback, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
And
they
you are
don't-
looking for somebody who will tell you, okay, let's collaborate. Is it?
I meant if they still working on their research that they already published, and some of them is not working with that topics anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have research groups at that topics anymore.
Yeah, my question is, what do you want?
Yes, maybe I can collaborate it or find some. Yeah, I need to discuss and find more about the novelty, because I'm still working on my proposals and the future research about and challenges about my topics for current issues, because I have some gap year to take a PhD, and it's quite a long to come back to my research topic.
How often do you talk to your supervisors, your actual supervisors in this university? How often do you talk to him? Every week?
Not every week.
Every month?
Every month.
Every month.
Yes.
My recommendation is you bring this question to him, because you need some studies on how to do research. Not about the research topic itself, it's about the research itself. Yeah. If you can put in other parties' shoes, you are a professor, you are a researcher, you publish a paper in any venue, any platform, somebody from another country send you an email, can we collaborate? What is your response? Right? Your facial expression is already telling me what is your response. Don't worry about it. As a beginning researcher, we always go through this. In the beginning, we need to understand the research itself. Don't get involved into those kind of collaboration. The collaboration will come along while you understand more about the subjects. How do you understand the subject? Read, learn, build up our own portfolios. Then there will be collaborations. Don't worry about why they are not responding. Why should I respond? Right? As your facial expression is telling me. Don't worry about this. Talk to your supervisors, learn more about how to conduct research, and the rest will come naturally. Right? And of course, for today's illustration, I'm just using keyword to show you the search results. You should go beyond, going through all this. You should actually read the PDF, I don't care who the author is coming from. I don't care whether it's a professor or new master students. As long as the research is useful for me, that's good enough. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not at the position of providing or coaching you how to conduct PhD research. I myself, I don't have my PhD yet. But the good thing is, research is like reading a paper. When we are reading a paper, reading a newspaper, there must be a purpose. There must be certain expectations we set for ourselves. We can't go beyond that expectations. Yeah. I think that's my answer to your question. Not complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Nggak apa-apa, karena memang kita semua sedang berjuang. When I did my PhD in Australia, I got 3 months of confusing here and there, getting lost, and I didn't know what to do until what I want is just to cry. Jadi yang saya pengen hanyalah saya nangis karena saya nggak ngerti harus bagaimana. And that's okay, it's part of the journey. Jadi kalian yang sama-sama anak PhD, ini memang perjalanan sunyi sekali ya, apalagi musim dingin gitu ya. Jadi udah hujan begini sunyi, boleh nangis nggak? Boleh gitu. Jadi itu nggak apa-apa. Jadi memang tidak harus kita tuh saling menemani ya, berteman ya, karena anak PhD itu beda sekali dengan anak master dan anak undergraduate gitu. Jadi teman-teman PhD itu kalian salinglah menjaga, karena kesunyian ini nggak bisa dibayar. Ini nih sunyi sekali di sini, bingung sendiri. Supervisor itu tidak boleh memberikan jawaban yang lugas. Kalau kita salah kita harus balik dan berpikir. Jadi memang ini being an independent researchers itu it's not that easy, tapi it's possible. Memang perjalanannya lama. Jadi nggak apa-apa kalau masih semester 1 pergi kemana-mana kebingungan sendiri, kemudian menulis email dengan calon kolaborator, positif responnya tidak didapat, ya kayak nembak cewek belum ketemu-ketemu aja gitu kan, nggak apa-apa ya, kan belum jodohnya gitu ya, lama-lama kan dapet gitu. Bapak ini yang senyum sudah semester lama, jadi sudah tahu ini rasanya bagaimana jadi PhD student. Nggak apa-apa, nanti ditemani berjuang gitu, nggak apa-apa. Oke, Alex, I think it's already 3 o'clock. Okay, is there anything that you need to clarify sebelum kita sudahi, atau Pak Dede ada closing statement, or Alex closing statement?
I was
please?
going through the questions, you put in. Thanks a lot. But unfortunately, I don't have answers for this. I don't have free APCs. But it's a good thing that I can show you a website, which again, thanks to our library. Our librarian has done a fantastic job of listing the APC support from the library. So if you come to under e-resources, token APC. This is the information about the token that library is supporting our authors, our researchers. So if you are publishing with IEEE, our library will actually list down all the papers that are published under this program, as you can see. The reason why I'm highlighting to this one, of course, and every student, whether you are publishing or not, we really should thank our librarian for the hard work put together, putting this. The second one is, I would like to show you an example of this article. Actually, a lot of the articles, but I'll just take this for example. As you can see, this is a collaboration between researchers. So if you look at the authors here, this is our researcher. The first author is our members, from our university, from UGM, and the second author, which is from a university in Japan. Now, we all know Japan, they really exceed in terms of research, because they have the funding, they have the support and all this. However, simply because this paper is published with the support of APC funding support from our university, when we are examining the research output of this article, this research is categorized as a research output from UGM, not from Japan, because the final publishing is with the funding support from UGM. So if you are publishing with APC, it is very important, because if let's say you collaborate with another researcher from another country or another university, the university say, oh, my university has APC funding, let's publish under my university name. You might think, oh, this is a good idea, since they are taking care of the APC, why not? Let's just publish under the name. Well, that's what happens. Yes, it's published with the funding, but the research output goes to the university as well, because the funding is coming from the university. Like in this case, the funding is from our university, the research output is considered coming from UGM, not from Japan. So that's a big difference. I think if you have any, of course our librarian plus our administrators here, you may want to put this into consideration. Sometimes we get especially the publication support. Research for funding is different. Research for funding, normally the amount is much, much more. It covers the whole research process. While the research for publication, the amount, if you compare to the whole funding for the research, is actually very minimum. But simply because the funding for publication is docked by another university, the whole research output is considered as from another university, which is not worth it. Yeah. So I think for most of the other questions, I addressed it during the presentation. Of course, if there's any further question, please feel free to contact our library. And of course, we will work together with our library to provide all the assistance and support at any time. Once again, thank you so much for your time. I know today is quite a long session. We do apologize on that, but we hope it's useful. And all the best for your studies and research. Thank you. Thank you.
Oke, beri tepuk tangan pada Alex. Oke, mungkin sebenarnya dalam hati masih banyak sekali yang mau ditanyakan, tapi nanti kita akan sambung di sesi-sesi berikutnya. Jangan lupa follow IG Perpustakaan dan websitenya Perpustakaan dicek, karena akan ada banyak sekali informasi tentang sesi yang serupa di masa-masa mendatang. Itu karena memang kita berkomitmen penuh untuk bisa memberikan servis kepada mahasiswa agar mahasiswa tidak merasa sendiri. Gitu ya. Oke, terima kasih atas kehadirannya. Sampai ketemu lagi di sesi untuk next-nya. Ini Mbak Delta mau nutup atau tidak? Oke, ini saya kembalikan ke Mbak Delta karena Mbak Delta mau ngumumin apa ini? Voucher dan pemenang. Jangan beranjak dulu, ini kalau sudah melewati pintu itu udah nggak berlaku itu. Gak apa-apa, buat menghangatkan suasana karena memang lagi hujan gini. Ini akan ada kuliah lagi atau sudah selesai? Sudah selesai, pulang ke kosan? Atau main ke Malioboro? Enggak, mikir tesisnya dulu itu gimana caranya biar lulus cepat. Ayo sayang, cepetan, let's go. Sudah?
Baik, memasuki untuk Bapak Ibu untuk link untuk mendapatkan e-sertifikat nanti dapat melalui link ugm.id/evaluasi IEEE. Itu IEEE-nya nanti huruf besar semua, nanti mungkin bisa diisi setelah acara ini berakhir. Dan untuk Bapak Ibu yang tadi 3 penanya pertama itu akan mendapatkan voucher Grab dari iGroup, itu nanti bisa menghubungi di meja registrasi untuk meninggalkan nomor handphonenya.
Wow.
Baik.
Oke, ingat tadi 3 penanya pertama semua. Oke.
Oke, Bapak Ibu yang berbahagia, kini telah sampailah kita ke penghujung acara. Mari kita tutup acara pada sore hari ini dengan ucapan rasa syukur. Semoga yang ilmu yang kita dapat pada siang hari ini berkah dan bermanfaat. Selanjutnya saya Delta Ira mengucapkan selamat sore. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.